This is a good one if you're going for a long run, if you're just get your snacks if you're not. So
And that's the intro for the episode. Now
boom.
Are you running a marathon? Oh my god, I could never run a marathon. You sure about that? My god, a marathon that's like 42 kilometers, 26 miles. I don't understand those people. That used to be me.
But not anymore. Welcome to the Marathon Podcast. My name is Kristian Warwick, aka Warwick Runs on different platforms. Really happy to have you here. Thanks for all the feedback and all the listens over the last couple of weeks. It's been a lot of fun. If you haven't already, please give this podcast a review. I would really appreciate that. Share it with a friend. Tag the Marathon Podcast on Instagram, wherever you are listening. In this episode, we are doing a little bit of a different thing because I have been chatting with Brendan for a few months, and we gotten to know each other. We figured that it would be cool to have a chat and just do that as a podcast episode. And he asked me some questions, so hopefully you guys are able to get to know me a little bit better. And we're obviously talking about Brendan's journey and how he progressed from actually being not a sub-3 marathoner at the beginning of this year. Now he's a 2:48 marathoner running Boston Marathon next spring. We obviously talked about that a little bit. And just a very good conversation. I also touched on something new and very exciting in this episode. But if you've been following the Marathon Podcast on Instagram, you might have seen that I started this initiative called the Marathon Podcast Sponsorship. And this is a very exciting initiative, something that I've been wanting to do for a while. And luckily, I am in a position where I'm able to do so. I remember when I was an athlete myself, and especially trying to get to that level where you could make real money as an athlete. It was really, really helpful and highly appreciated whenever people wanted to contribute to my career. And so the Marathon Podcast Sponsorship is aiming at helping professional athletes who are super ambitious, have big goals, and might find themselves in a situation where they're working more than what's ideal for them as athletes. Or maybe they can't go on specific training camps or do what is best for their running to reach their goals. And so this sponsorship is not a huge one. It won't really make the difference between being a full-time athlete and not being a full-time athlete, but hopefully it can contribute to something that is, some expenses, maybe a month's rent or covering a training camp. And my goal with this is obviously to help the athletes, help them to reach their goals and work towards their dreams, something that I'm very passionate about. In addition to this, I want to be transparent, and obviously this is also a part of a marketing strategy for me. I do have a bit of a different approach to this than maybe what you would call normal marketing, because I'm not asking anything from the athletes other than them collaborating with me on that announcement post. And so I'm just hoping that marketing-wise, this will help the podcast. But like I said, I also want to help the athletes. I want to give back. And this is something that Brendan and I are talking about in this chat. So the Marathon Podcast is already sponsoring two athletes, Andy Buchanan and Cole Gibbons. If you haven't listened to the episodes that I have out with them already, you should. There are a couple of other athletes that are already on their way in, and I can't wait to share those names with you. You can read a little bit more about these athletes on the new website of the Marathon Podcast, themarathonpodcast.com. And I hope that you guys think that this is a good initiative. I think it's great. I think it's very exciting, and I am having a lot of fun with it. And so with that, and the explanation of the Marathon podcast sponsorship, and I guess the launch of it here on the pod, we'll just jump to the conversation with Brendan. So then I guess I just have to say welcome to the Marathon podcast, Brendan. Nice to finally meet you. We've been chatting a lot.
Yeah, no, thank you, man. I appreciate you having me here and taking time out of your day to do this.
I really appreciate it, and I need to thank you also for all the suggestions for guests, because there've been quite a lot of indie people on here, and you're the mastermind behind all of it.
I say there's plenty more indie people, but you probably would have to move here if you're just going to interview all of us.
Probably, maybe the podcast needs to have like a headquarter in Indy.
There we go. We could work on that.
Yeah. So like what we were talking about just before we started recording, this is going to be a bit of a different podcast episode where you're obviously going to share your running journey and who you are, but also a bit of, since we've been chatting so much, it's nice for us to to know each other, and you're going to be able to ask me some questions, or we're going to try to keep it a bit that way. So I've been also wanting to give a little bit of an update on my own running, and I thought it was a good way to do that. But before we do, maybe you can introduce yourself and like who you are, what you're doing when you're not running, and also about your running journey.
All right. Yeah, so I'm Brendan Kelly, based out of Indianapolis, Indiana. I guess running wise, we'll just hit that off the bat. Running wise, I ran in grade school, so middle school, a little bit of high school, and ended up doing it in college as well. Consider myself retired outside of college from running, and took 10 years off, and actually got back into running 2 years ago. And most of that was due to like my dad, and I'm sure there will be a whole segment of talking about my dad when I get onto that, but most of it was due to him and the inspiration there. But yeah, so now I got bit by the marathon bug that I quote unquote would tell myself I would never run a marathon, and look at me now. That's what I'm exactly doing. So that's kind of where I'm at running wise. But personal life, I got a wife and 2 boys, 6 and 4 years old. So we're in the busy nonstop era of our lives. So they keep me busy. That's a lot of my downtime is spent with them. Weekends we're always going somewhere doing stuff like that. But that's family life. And then work, I'm a financial analyst, so I actually have the luxury of working from home, which is amazing. Especially with like running schedule and stuff like that. So it allows me to do my recovery when I need to do my recovery and get work done at the same time. Right? It's perfect. I love it. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. You were saying the other day that you were, I don't remember how you phrased it, but when you were suggesting another guest, you were saying that I didn't need to listen to you or whatever it was because you were giving me so many of them. But one of the things that I really, really appreciate, and I don't think people really understand how much that means, is like, I think you reached out to me, was it a couple of weeks or a week before both of us were running our BQ race. And I remember when you reached out, I was like, oh, wow. Because when people reach out and you have a podcast, because I'm sitting here like, sometimes talking to myself, sometimes talking to one person, and you have no idea how people, how it's being received. And the way you were about that, and the way you've been kind of, supporting it on Instagram for the last couple of months, I really appreciate that. And it's been nice to, I feel like I said, I feel like we know each other, although we don't. So it's right. I'm gonna learn a lot about you today, but I also feel like there are parts that I do know, and
right.
And I think that's also the beautiful thing about running. That that you can connect over something like that for the both of us. You did mention your dad. Like, I think both of us, we have a very close relationship to our dads, and I know that you're gonna have a pretty special moment with him in April with the Boston Marathon. Why don't you say something about that before we dive into more of the marathons?
Yeah. So I made it. So I just same weekend, I think, as you. When you got your BQ. So I qualified for Boston. It was my first. Well, it was my second BQ of the year, but first one within the buffer. Which I'm glad I did, and I can elaborate more on that later on. But my dad actually BQ'd last year. Last year they still had the what do they call it? Where you can double, like the 2 years.
Yeah, double dip or something.
Yes.
Like that.
So he did Boston this year, and he had like the time of his life. It was absolutely amazing to like not only track him, but he would FaceTime like us.
Oh wow.
He's like running up Heartbreak, and then at one point I had him FaceTime me, Rob, and Mark Geyer, who was also on this podcast with you earlier. So with that, he would like FaceTime us and just had an absolute blast. So I made the decision when I BQ'd, and I didn't think about this really at the time being. I was just happy to qualify, and originally I was like, okay, no, I'm gonna race it. But then in the back of my mind and talking to other people I run with and stuff, is like, I gotta be able to. I should just run it with him and enjoy this moment with my dad, because I mean, he's 66 years old, which is amazing. And with that being said, I don't know how much he can do this on his body at his age. I know he'll keep running, but to that like level is a different breed. So I was like, I can qualify. I'm 30. Oh my gosh, I'm 33. I think 34. I don't know. Oh my gosh, I should figure that out. I'm either 33 or 34, guys. So,
what year are you born in?
92.
92. So that then you're most likely 33.
I'm like, once you get after 30, I feel like it's just out the window.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
But yeah, I just was like, I can qualify or attempt to qualify. I got more years in me at this stage. So we're actually going to go to Boston together and do basically everything together. I'm going to jog alongside him. The biggest question right now is he's dealing with a foot issue where he's actually been out. He's probably been out about the same time, amount of time that you've kind of been out with your sickness. So he's trying to figure that out. But I mean, the good thing is he's got plenty of time. So
yeah, plenty of time.
Looking forward to that. And it'll be even more amazing too that like my mom and my sisters, they're all going up, and I don't think they've ever seen both of us race like together. So that'll be a cool little family moment there.
Awesome. Yeah, it's I don't think there are a lot of things that can be more special than doing Boston with your dad and having your family there. That's
right.
I'm impressed if you're able to do that without crying a little bit after finishing.
I won't be human if I don't cry at the end there, huh? What's also cool is like, so my dad's ran Boston outside of this past year, he's raced it back when he was actually my age. Okay. So that's another cool thing is like him and I will both, that was like his joy and his like life back in the day in the 30s was racing Boston and Chicago and doing all that stuff. So it's actually kind of almost like full circle where I'm not racing it, but I'm going to be running Boston at the same age my dad ran his first Boston, with the cherry on top that I'm doing it with my dad. So yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. I can't wait to meet you and your dad in Boston. Hopefully we can, if we're not, I hope that we'll be able to meet up in Athletes Village at least, because that's kind of like the one thing that I was missing this year was that I didn't really know anyone. So coming, going to Athletes Village, and a lot of people told me that, people are so, people are so nice in there, and they will just talk to you, and you'll make friends and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that people weren't nice, but I was not approached by anyone. I did not really approach anyone myself either, but I was kind of walking around there hoping to see some faces that I've seen before, or
Recognize.
kind of just, show my face there and be like, oh, maybe someone has, seen me, so they would say hi or whatever. But I ended up being by myself the whole time. I wasn't really bummed out about it, but I just remember thinking that it would have been fun to share the last hour before the race with someone.
Right. And that's the thing I've heard a lot too, is like, I mean, obviously if you're doing Boston, people talk about doing Athletes Village, like experiencing Athletes Village, doing all that stuff. But then like in my mind, like me on race day is 1,000 times different than me on any other day. So like,
Yeah.
you approach me on race day, it's usually like game face, headphones, and like, this is my schedule, this is what I'm doing. And I don't mean to, like, if I do see somebody I know, or someone sees me, like if they say hi to me or something, I may feel bad because I may not even like know they're there. Just because I get like such almost like tunnel vision.
Yeah.
But I mean, I also haven't done a race like Boston where it's so massive and you're out there for what, like 2 or 3 hours before I don't even really know, 2 or 3 hours before the actual race starts.
I think that is the biggest difference, right? Like, especially if you take the bus from Boston, then you'll be out there pretty early. And I agree with you that, the last 30 minutes, whatever, before the race, it's nice to get into the mode of racing. But I'm not sure if I think, at least for me, it doesn't really work to be in that zone for like 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah. Yes.
So then you might as well try to loosen up and be a little bit more social.
Of course.
But I think it really depends on how you are as a person. I heard Rory Linkletter saying something about him being kind of pretty goofy the whole time. Like, he wasn't the kind of serious athlete with his headphones on. He was more just the same Rory all the time. And I think it varies from person to person, but especially with Boston, you're gonna have so much time that it could be nice to have some distractions, honestly.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, I say normally I'm used to like that hour limit before a race. Like, that's because everything I do is mostly local or something, and it's not where you have to prep so far in advance. So yeah, I would not be able to lock myself in like that for 2-3 hours. That's for sure. But yeah, it'll be nice to hopefully experience that, and hopefully, like you said, hopefully, well, I don't know the overlap or anything about Boston, but I'm not sure when you'll be there versus when I'll be there, because I'll be out there with my dad, and you're gonna be a lot faster than us.
Yeah. So if like it could be, we, at least this year, we kind of left Boston pretty quickly after the race, especially as my fiance is from like 40 minutes from there. So, and then she has family like in Jamaica Plain, which is, I don't know, 10 minutes with a T or something like that. So yeah, but I'm also seeing it as a bit of a different thing next year because of the podcast. Maybe if it grows more, then I know more people, it could be fun to just be around and see more people finishing too.
That would be awesome.
Because when I ran it this year, I just started the podcast. I didn't really know anyone. Now I feel like I'm starting to know more people, and then it's more fun to just be there for that too. Although I guess like most of my guests have already finished when I'm finishing, so it's
they're already getting like escorted back to their hotel or something.
Yeah, they're already on the plane on the way back home.
Oh man. So when you go to Boston this year, are you staying with your fiance 40 minutes away or whatever, or are you getting like?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's actually pretty ideal because it's kind of the same distance from Boston out to where she's from as it is from Boston to Hopkinton. Then it's like almost the same distance again between Hopkinton and where she's from. So last year we just drove to Hopkinton, or like there's a drop off point 10 minutes from Hopkinton, and then they drove me there, got off, and it was super super easy. Did not have to go into Boston to take the buses, and we actually didn't leave the house until 7:15.
Oh wow.
So it was not, so it was not, a lot of people are talking about the Boston experience being great, but that is not really the best for the performance, because you have to get up so early, logistics. I don't know if you listened to the episode with Savannah where she said that the buses like took the wrong exit twice or something like that. That's kind of stressful.
Oh yeah.
I would say
There's a lot
So-
of that, because I know that this year, so 2025, the bus my dad was on actually got rear-ended by like a pickup truck or something. So on the way out to
Oh, no.
yeah, so that added another little stressor to things. So I'm like, I cannot, if I was like dead set and racing it and stuff, like I could definitely see how things like that would build your anxiety up and all that. It's a lot of uncontrollables too, though. So
Yeah, but that being said, there is a part of me that is like, have I actually experienced the Boston Marathon the right way without getting up in the morning, going to the buses? Because then you are, and maybe that is, the issue, back to what I said about Athletes Village. Maybe because I didn't get on a bus with people, that I didn't really get to know people, that if I was waiting in line to get on a bus, then you would start talking to some people and you would talk on the bus. I think those things can kind of play a role into the experience and when you get to the Athletes Village. And I'm not sure if I would, if you want to run fast and that's all, like that's everything for you, then yes, it's probably better to do what I'm doing. But if you want to experience the Boston Marathon and what everyone is raving about, then maybe staying in Boston and taking a bus is better.
yeah, I say that's a really good point, because that I think the bus and stuff like that kind of initiates that conversation, like you said, with some other people. Because I've heard stories where people actually have met people on the buses, and I mean they're still friends together, or like they've
Exactly.
met somebody on the buses that so happens to be in like the same city or same state as them. They don't know each other, and like one thing leads to the next, and now they're like teammates and all this stuff. So it's kind of bizarre how something like that could lead to something like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I didn't meet people before the race, but I met, actually both of them are Australian. One I met like a couple of days before. We were walking around in the Bandit store and Tracksmith, and then I met him, CJ, and we're like talking weekly now, and we even call each other from time to time. And then I met another Australian just after the race. He asked us like, "Oh, are you from Australia?" And I was like, "No, from Norway." And he was like, "Oh, it sounded like an Australian accent." And I was like,
There
"What?"
you go.
He must have been very tired. And then he asked my fiance, who's from the US, if she was from Australia, because she also sounded Australian. So but yeah, it was fun, because we're also still chatting from time to time, and it's nice with that. And I think that there's something about sharing, kind of like back to what you were saying about sharing that with your dad, but also sharing that with a random person.
Oh, yeah.
You have something in common, and it's a big day and a big moment for all of us when you're on Boylston.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I'm excited, and even though my dad keeps telling me that I'm gonna have fun no matter what, but my dad's like, it's gonna be so long for you to be out there like on your feet, and I'm like, Dad, that's not gonna matter to me. I mean, yeah, I don't want to be out there for 4 hours, but I mean, I'd much rather be out there for 4 hours jogging and actually taking in everything and like the people and stuff. Because I've never had that experience in any of my races where I've like taken everything in. So it'll be fun.
I think it's great that you're doing it that way, and I kind of have the same deal with my dad that at some point we're gonna, hopefully he will qualify. He's gonna try to qualify for the 27
Okay.
Boston Marathon, and then we'll try to do the exact same thing as what you guys are doing.
We'll just
Um,
swap.
yeah, yeah. So you'll be racing that year, and then I'll be running a bit slower. But I think that also almost like having an excuse to take it all in, because I want to race and I want to do well in Boston, but I also kind of wish that I could take it all in, because it's crazy, and I think it's impossible to explain or describe to anyone what it's like. You just have to experience it, and that probably sounds like, people who are not running or people who haven't done Boston, they're like, oh my god, what a douche. But I still think that there's something to that.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, I feel like a lot of people do, like, when they qualify for Boston, then they race or run Boston, I should say, as like that's their victory lap type of thing. Because most of the time, I mean, and I've never ran Boston, so it's hard for me to even say, but I feel like the hardest part is qualifying. Like, you did
Yeah.
all that, your block and everything leading up to it. That's the hardest part. Then you get in, and then you can enjoy it if you wanted to enjoy it. So
Exactly. I'm actually, this is probably a little bit of an announcement, but I don't know if it's going to be a big thing or not. I was on a long plane ride the other day, and so I was like, oh, might as well start this dream that I've always had of writing a book. So I started writing a book, and obviously, since I'm obsessed with the marathon, it's about the marathon. And and then I was actually writing that. I think it was today or yesterday. I was writing what you were saying, that Boston, like getting to Hopkinton, is kind of just the big final. Finally, you're here. It's a final of whatever you've been doing for the last weeks, months, years. It's not. I think to a lot of people, it seems like the marathon is the big,
right.
That's when you do the work, and that's when everything happens. And everything happens, but it's just that everything that happens there is just a result of everything that you've been doing for so long.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And well, that's going to be awesome. Is there any sort of crazy deadline or timeline on this?
No crazy deadline. I do tend to be like obsessed with what I'm doing. So when I start, if I'm able to finish it, it probably won't take that long. But I'm not sure if there's probably gonna be a big difference between the day I'm actually done with the book and like on my side compared to whether I decide to publish it or not. It's just,
Of course.
I love to write and create, and it's just sometimes it's just a project for myself rather than for everyone else.
It's kind of funny because I guess a good transition is, so I'm not big on reading, but I mean, if I see something and it's of interest, of course, like that's a lot different than just reading a school textbook. But I actually, this little mini block I'm doing for the half marathon, I started, Rob Jackson, actually, I guess shout out to Rob, since he'll kill me if I don't say that. And everybody, and Mark Geyer and so on. But I'll get that out of the way now, guys. So with that being said, Rob actually told me I should look into a site called Substack. Have you heard of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that because I've been meaning to download that app. I was thinking about it yesterday when because you shared something, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I need to download this, and because you have something there, right?
Yeah, so it's another app, but it's literally for like journaling or blogging, or you don't even have to journal or blog. You could read other people's, like, you don't have to actually do it, but because I had kind of been making just like little Instagram type stories of like Track Tuesday and like, here's my workout, like a before video, and then I'd do like a little after video talking about like my workout, what I did, how it felt. And I mean, that wasn't bad, but doing that Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, like on repeat is very repetitive and not very creative, I guess. Without spending too much time trying to film things or whatever. But he
Mhm.
sent me this thing and said I should look into it. And it was this other guy who did a Boston block journal on Substack, and it was just like a week by week thing. So I started doing that for this little block where I just called it the path to 115 at CNO Monumental half
Mhm.
marathon. So I'm
Cool.
doing like a week by week update on that, and it just gives up like it's nothing crazy, but it just tunes in to like it's more for me. And if people read it, that's great. I honestly don't know if a lot of people do, and I mean that doesn't matter. But it's more for me to like sit back and really tune in and dial in on how my week went. Um, so it's
Mhm.
like Strava. I guess it's like Strava in a way where you could type all your stuff in, but for me, it just helps graph all one week together and just really focus on okay, Tuesday was really hard. Why? And then like I would just start typing
Yeah.
and just doing my thoughts that way. So yeah.
No, but I love that, and I think that it's very healthy to get to the point where you're doing it for yourself, even though you put it out there. So it's kind of like, okay, if people can benefit from this, great.
Right.
If not, great. It doesn't
Yeah.
really matter. And that's I don't know, in the world we're living in with all the social media and likes and kudos and all of that, it's nice to be able to do something for yourself. And I guess like wherever you post something, you will be excited to see if people interact with it or
Right.
engage in it. But
Of course.
that it doesn't, as long as that's not the main motivation, I guess it's healthier.
Yeah, it's pretty much like a trade talk. Like if somebody and I mean it's not just random people, it's usually people like from the run club or like people I actually know.
Yeah.
Will they be like, "Hey, like I really liked reading your little weekly log this week or whatever or even just a thumbs up or whatever it may be." Like stuff like that. Of course, we all like that type of stuff, but like you said,
Yeah.
it's not something I'm necessarily like I'm not wanting to walk outside and all of a sudden people are like, "Oh, dude, journal was so great." Like and I'm like, "I don't really know you." Like I mean, if it gets to like if people want to read it, that's awesome, but yeah, it's more for me to tune into my body and focus on that, and I think it helps. I think it probably even helps my coach Mark Geyer on on figuring out how I really feel about things. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, but that's actually the exact same thing that I'm doing now. Like I'm working with John Green, and uh, we're using this. It's called Final Search. I think it's some kind of software where you're logging the training, and then you also have the comments there where you kind of add it, just like you said, kind of like Strava, but
yeah,
then he gets that information, and then it's easier for him to know how I felt. And the more information I provide, the better or the
yep,
easier
right,
it will be for him.
of course.
Obviously, like recently, it hasn't been much. It's been like try to run again, did not feel good. Have to take a rest day. Try to
Ugh.
run again, did not feel so good. That's how it's been now since we started working together. So it's
Oh my
but
gosh.
yeah, still, it's a great concept if you are healthy and you're able to run.
Right, right. I say when things get better, hopefully sooner for you because it's been what a month. It,
Yeah, yeah, it's
oh
been a
my
month.
gosh.
I've never experienced anything like this before.
So when's the last time you ran?
Well, I've been able to run every now and then, but it's like, so the last week I've had, I don't know, five runs maybe, but they're
Okay.
like three to four 3 to 4 miles, I guess, and super easy. But my heart rate just spikes at the end of it. It's so it's really weird, and the worst part is that I've had days where I have felt worse after the runs, which is
Oh,
then that's kind of the sign of
yep.
okay, take it easy. But then now that we were in the Canary Islands, just like almost just outside of Africa, and then it was hot, and I felt like fairly good at on some of the runs. Still higher heart rate, still feeling a bit little bit off, but then more in the way where I was like, okay, now it's, when you've been sick for a week and you start running, it won't feel good the first couple of runs. And
Right.
that's kind
Yes.
of what it's been like. So I'm hoping that I'm seeing the end of this, whatever it is now. But it's been a weird one, that's for sure. Even had a
gosh.
day in the hospital, so it's kind of yeah.
What? Yeah. So I remember you posting about that and talking about it. So what actually, like, what happened? The hospital.
Yeah, so that is the weirdest thing. So I have, just as like a bit of a background information on that, I have AS, which is like ankylosing spondylitis, some kind of like chronic disease. It's an autoimmune disease.
Okay.
So in short, it affects my bones and joints, and it fuses unless I have my medicine. And so when I went to the doctor on a Saturday, I was like, I thought that maybe I had, is it called the shingles? The rash that you
Yep.
can get. Yeah. So I thought I had that because I had some weird sensation on my skin. And then I thought I would just go there, maybe get a cream, whatever, to help with the itching. And she called up some more fancy doctor than herself, I guess, and she didn't tell me much. It was just like, you have to go directly to the hospital. And she told me that I was gonna drive myself, so I understood that it wasn't like life threatening, or like, honestly, I didn't even feel like, I wasn't sure. She didn't tell me anything, and I just heard some words like doctor language on the phone when she talked to someone. And I walked up there and I was like, I have no idea why I'm here, but I was told to come in. And this was a Saturday. It was like the first Saturday in a while where we actually didn't have a lot of things going on. So it was a bit of a bummer, because I think I spent like 7 or 8 hours in there that day. And they were super nice, and some of them at first didn't really understand either why I was there, and then they were like, oh, okay, and then they took some blood samples and ECG and blood pressure, all of the good stuff. And at some point I asked the doctors, like, it's like, do I have to be worried? Like, what is going on? I don't know why I'm here. And she's like, no, you're good. But then that was a nurse, I think, and then the doctor came in and he was like, yeah, it could be that we have to, go up in your spine with liquid, whatever. I didn't really understand what he was saying. And then I was like, uh-oh, I have to tell him that I'm good. So like, whenever he was doing was looking for things, I'm like, no, it's good. No pain. I didn't actually have pain, but I was exaggerating that part too, because I did not want anyone to go up in my back. I did not understand what that had to do with anything.
That's wild.
And then I asked, it's like, I still don't really know what it was that they were worried about, but he said, yeah, it's kind of like a 1 in a million disease that we're like worried about, because of that, the symptoms that I had and the AS that I mentioned. Like, so apparently it has something to do with that and the medicine that I'm on. A lot of things that just ended up with them sending me home, and everything was good. And the most embarrassing part about this is that I think it could be that I had a new t-shirt on. And like, when you're sick, you don't, when you're sick and you're just at home, I at least for me, I don't really change t-shirts every day.
Right.
So I was just wearing the same one for a few days. And I'm guessing that if that was the case, then maybe that was the reason, because the day after I did not wear the t-shirt and it started getting better. And I'm not sure, but I if that's the case, that's very embarrassing that I went to the hospital just because I had a new t-shirt that I hadn't washed yet.
Have you wore this t-shirt set again, like, since then?
Yeah, but I washed it. I washed it before, so maybe I have to start washing them before I wear them now. It's a great t-shirt.
Oh my gosh. That would be really
Yeah.
crazy if that ended up being the case. I mean, that would be a good thing. That's what you probably would want it to be
Y-
over the one in a
Yeah.
million. But yeah, that's still
Yeah.
bizarre.
Yeah. But it's been a weird kind of, I think most likely it's some kind of COVID, right? Like it's not, I haven't been, I haven't had, I don't even know if I've had a fever, but it's just been a lot of different symptoms, and now it's just sinus infection or something. I think that is still there, and yeah, it's not fun. But I guess you and I talked about it, was it yesterday or the day before, that at least I got through the marathon, and
Yeah.
it would have sucked if it happened a couple of days before my marathon, because
Right.
then I would have been much more upset. Now it's more like, okay, it sucks. It's gonna affect my Valencia marathon, but
Yep.
uh, it's not. It's not gonna really affect Tokyo or Boston. So
Is
yeah.
is Valencia this weekend? Coming weekend?
No, no. It's also a race in Valencia this weekend, and that is
Okay.
the half marathon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Because I saw Emma
because
Grace.
Emma is doing that one.
Yep.
Yeah, she's doing that one. Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
We didn't talk about that on the call, but she was like, "I'm happy with that." Like, I don't want a lot of people knowing that I race.
Yeah,
But
that surprised me.
now we're calling her out now on the Friday just before the race.
Right. I literally, because I just got done listening to it, and then and yesterday, and then today, or no, I don't know what day it was, but and then today I saw her post or whatever that she's on her way to Valencia and made the announcement. I'm like, this wasn't said at all, but
No,
it's out
it
there.
looked like A6 was treating her well, though. It looked like she was flying business or
Oh
first
yeah,
class. So
she had
I assume that it was A6.
plenty of legroom. That's all. That's all I saw.
Yeah, yeah, that's nice.
Man.
So, back to you and your running. Like, we can do some kind of Q&A between the two of us later on, but I think that it would be nice for the listeners to know a bit more about how you got to your 2:48 marathon, because you ran a 2:48 on September 7th, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and how did you get there?
Yeah. So, I started running. I consider there's two types of timelines for me. I ran in middle school, high school, college. That was a while ago, so that's out. That's out the window, and it has some relation to what I'm doing now, of course, because of experience. But running 5K, 8Ks, it it doesn't really much. It does translate to marathons in a way, but not what I'm doing now. So I started running, I guess I should say, post collegiate in 2023. And it was one of those things where I was going to the gym all the time. Because as a long distance runner, basically almost your whole life, you didn't have any muscle. Like you had muscle, but it wasn't really visible. You were just skin and bones. So
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to get
Mm-hmm.
muscle. And so I was actually a personal trainer at the time. And so that was my job. And so I would train clients. And then if I didn't have clients, I would just work out. That was my life. So I did that all after college. And so I continued doing that. And then I started to want to do more like high intensity interval training. So hit training. And I would go back on the treadmill or something. And I'd do like 1 minute on, 2 minute off, or vice versa. And one random Saturday, I decided to just be like, I feel kind of good on my warm up, which I would just do like a mile or just like 10 minutes or whatever it may be. I was like, I wonder if I could do like a 5K, which sounds silly for me to say with like my experience and stuff, but I hadn't ran in forever. I don't even think I wore running shoes. I don't know what I wore, but I ended up running it like without stopping, and it honestly didn't feel bad. So I was like, okay, maybe this is something I can re-pick up. Because at the time, my dad also started up running again after some health issues that he dealt with, and now he's like, he's probably in one of the best shapes I would say of his later years of his life. Maybe not when he was 30, but So I started doing 5Ks not all in 2020, but the back half of 2023. And at that time, I only wanted to do 5Ks. I did tell myself I'd never run a half marathon and I would never run a marathon. Um, and next thing I know, I signed up for the local run club, which is Fisher's Running Club, which is also part of what Mark Geyer's on, and
Mm-hmm.
started running with other people, and talking to them. And then I kind of got, I guess, influenced or persuaded into signing up for a half marathon, which was in May of 2024. And so then this is when the competitive side of me came out. And knowing my competitive side, I wanted to beat my dad's times from when he was my age. And so my dad's time, I think, was 121, like 38 from when he was my age. And so I was like, okay, that's going to be my goal for my first half marathon, which is a bit ambitious. It's definitely hard to hit. But it wasn't like something unrealistic where it's like a 112 or something where I'm just like, okay, yeah, see you later. So, I didn't end up hitting 121. I ran my first half marathon at Indy Mini in May of 2024 in like 127.
Mm-hmm.
Ran it.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah, I would say I wasn't like disappointed. I was really aiming for like 125. Like I knew if I was smart and I actually ran it how you should run it, which I don't know. I mean, that just happens to, I think, everybody, but I was aiming really for like a 125, but yeah, 127, I wasn't too disappointed. Under 130, if I got over 130, I probably would have been more disappointed, but yeah, I definitely positive split that, in the worst way possible. So, so yeah, that was kind of the start of everything in terms of like the longer distance, for me. Because after that, I then, signed up for my first marathon, which was in September of 2024. So at this point, um, I think I only had one half marathon under my belt, and then I'm about to do my first marathon. And I actually so Rob Jackson's coach, which is Matt Ebersol for Personal Best Team, PBT. That's just basically what I know him as. But I got him to kind of write me up a plan leading up to that marathon. And the whole plan was, at that time and my age, was 3 minutes, or 3 minutes. Oh my gosh, 3 hours.
3 hours. Yeah.
Was 3 hours. So that was the plan, was to run sub 3, and with some cushion, because I knew about the buffer. Obviously don't know what buffer should be or not, but sub 3 hours was my goal. And everything was great leading up to it. Felt great the race day. And this was Last Chance BQ in Geneva, Illinois. And these are, specifically, they're real small races. They have no more than like 300 runners. They're also looped courses, and so you're running around this loop, like a 3 or 4 mile loop, and you get bottle service, which is pretty cool if you wanted to take advantage of that. So everything's set up for you to run the best race of your life and give you the best possible chance to qualify. Well, everything went well until it didn't. And the last,
As it does.
right, of course, and no matter how many times people tell me the race doesn't start until you hit mile 20, and I'm like, yeah, okay. And it
But I feel so good at 13.
So exactly. I kid you not. Like, I had my watch paced. Like, I set up my watch to hit these paces at these splits. Was hitting them. Well, was right around those. But then, of course, felt really good around 13, 14, 15, 16. And once I hit like 18, it was like, okay, this isn't hard, but I'm kind of feeling my body a little bit. And I'd made the dumb move to even pass the 3 hour pacer, because I ran with them for like one loop, so like 3 miles, and then I was like, okay, like I'm feeling really good, guys. Like, see you later. And Ricky move. They ended up passing me back not long ago, but I ended up running a 3:04 and change. So again, not bad. Um,
No, still very good for your first.
yeah. So I wasn't disappointed. What kind of sucked mostly on that race was my dad was racing that race too. And he was trying to qualify for Boston, which he did qualify, and I didn't.
All right.
So I was like, oh my gosh, this sucks. I mean, of course, my dad being like my number one supporter is like super hyped for me running a 3:04. All this, like, he doesn't even care that he just qualified for Boston. He's like, dude, you did so, like, it was all about me to him, which which is kind of just one of those like things you don't take for granted that much.
Mhm.
So that was my first marathon. Um, and then I got back into half marathons after that. I then did a half marathon at CNO Monumental of 24, and I ran a 122 and some change, and I felt great. At this point, that was my first block with Mark Geyer coaching me. Um, and I felt great at the race, felt great after the race, which isn't usually heard of that often. And I wanted more because I was so close to my dad's. I was like less than a minute off my dad's time. And so I decided to sign up for another half marathon that was like a month after that, which it's in Zionsville, Indiana. So it's a smaller one, but I had everything set up for me this day. I had Mark Geyer and Rob Jackson both pacing me. Um,
Right.
which, I mean, you couldn't ask for it better guys to be able to sign up for a race and pace you to try and help you get your dad's PR time. So everything was great until, again, it wasn't. Something was just off with my stomach, and it wasn't necessarily like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom stomach. It was just something wasn't. I don't know what it was. And I could just tell as soon as I hit like mile 3 that things were a lot harder than it should have. So I still PR'd, which I can't be mad at, but I still didn't get my dad's time. So I chopped up 2024, running 3 halves and 1 marathon. And yeah, so that led to 2025, and got into more competitive type races here. And ended up breaking 17 minutes in a 5K, which was a big thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it so happened to be which is kind of bizarre. There's a race here called Polar Bear, and it's like in February or March, and a lot of the local people will race it like competitively, and it's cool concept because you run a 5K at first. If you can sign up just for the 5K, they also have a 5 mile race as well. So you can sign up
Okay.
for a 5K or a 5 mile. And I think they actually just changed it. So I take this back. I think it's a 5K and 8K now. It's either 5K, it's 5K and 8K now. Sorry. It used to be 5K, 5 mile. So you can sign up for just the 5K or just the 8K. And then, or you can do both, which is called the Bear.
Right.
A lot of people will run the Bear that are like the competitive people. So I actually ran the sub 17 on the 5K, and then I bounced back with a 5 mile 8K or an 8K. I don't know what it was.
I
But
think
anyways,
5 miles and 8K will be very similar to each other. It's not 5 miles. It's not exactly 8K.
yeah,
but
8K is
it's
like
not far from it
right.
because 6 miles is 10K. So then,
Yep.
yeah. So
One or
it's
the
probably
other.
somewhere in between.
I forget exactly what it is. I didn't study that too much, but yeah, I ran really well on both of those. And I ran that was with Rob and stuff. So that kicked off our 2025 season. And then so I ran sub 17, knocked that off. I ran sub 5 in a mile road race. I ran 4:53, I think it was, which was another kind of boost for me. But I had also then ran a half marathon here in Carmel, Indiana, and I ran that's when I broke my dad's time. I ran a 118 like 58, so it's almost like
Wow.
almost 119. And that was a huge confidence boost because that was in the middle of my marathon block because I was gearing up for Carmel Marathon. So that was great news. And then Carmel Marathon, and this is I'm sorry, I'm going nonstop about
No,
in
go for
running.
it.
And so
That's
Carmel
great.
Marathon,
That's benefit of being on a running podcast. You can
Right.
talk about running.
Dude, it's like, gosh, dang, this guy is just doing this. But Carmel Marathon was a little disappointed because it actually got canceled the morning of.
All right.
So
I heard about that.
yeah, so I mean I 100% get the reasoning and stuff, but of course it sucks because that's you just not wasted, but you just spent past 2-3 months training for this race.
Yeah.
And it was a local race, and like, so family, all that stuff would be able to come see it, and I felt great. But I ended up pivoting when it got canceled. I ended up pivoting and racing the following weekend at Glass City. It's Glass City Marathon, which is in Toledo, Ohio. And Rob Jackson actually went to that one with me, and him and I both PR'd at those races. That's where Rob ran 2:33 and obliterated his PR. And then I ran a 2:52, or yeah, I ran a 2:50. I think it was a 2:52 or 2:51, something like that. And again, it was one of those where like I ran great. I felt great until about like the last 10 miles, where again, I just had a weird stomach. Not like I had to go to the bathroom, but just something unsettling. So I actually had stopped for the bathroom to just try, and wasted about a minute of my life in the portalet there at mile 20, and decided to just, I was like, nothing's happening, so I can't stay here any longer. So,
And you still did a 2:52. That's pretty impressive.
yeah. So that was one of those. I mean, I think as runners, we all have should have, would have, or could have's. And that's always going to happen. But that hit me so hard on that one because I was aiming for sub 250, because in my mind, I was like, if I run sub 250, I should be good for Boston with the buffer and the new time change, like the new updates. Because I told myself before, I was like, all right, if I run like 249, for example, and I don't get into Boston, like, it is what it is. Like, I'll be disappointed, but I would be more acceptable of that. So yeah, I ran the 251 there, which only gave me, I think, like I think whatever it was like 3 minutes and 49-second buffer or something. Which now, if you're listening to it, you know what the buffer is. And that actually wouldn't have
34.
Yeah, that wouldn't have got me in. And that was one of those things. It was hard for me to battle back and forth. Like, do I do another one? Do I just, am I okay with like accepting with what I did? And talking to, of course, like Rob and Mark and my dad and all these guys, is like, it for me, I was like, I'd be more disappointed if I didn't do one and they released the buffer, I didn't get in, and there goes my chance of being at Boston with my dad. So that was the biggest, that was all I cared about in my mind. So I was like, oh, I'm going to do another one. And so geared up for another one, which was that same weekend. So September 7th. Is that what it was? September 7th.
Yeah.
So just over a month ago, and that's where I ran the 2:48:38, something like that. So again, a huge PR coming from a 3:04 to 2:48. But again, I felt my dad was there, handing me bottles every like 4 miles on the loop or whatever, which was a huge help and huge boost to just be able to like see him and like kind of regather everything. And that was probably the first time I would say I struggled with how I should race, which is kind of weird because, like, again, this is a smaller race, and I talked to guys at the start line like, what are you guys aiming for? In these races, you have on your bibs like the BQ time. So it would be like your bib would start with 2:55 and then whatever extra number you would have. So of course you see all these people with 2:55. So you're like, hey, like, what are you aiming for? And there's a big group of guys that were all like, oh, we want to be like 2:45, 2:50. I'm like, perfect. Like I had my group. But then the first 3 miles we're cooking at like 6:12, 6:15s, which is not sub 250. Well, I mean, it is sub 250, but not what I was aiming for. And so I battled with myself of, do I let these guys go and run by myself, which obviously no one wants to do, especially for 26 miles. Or do I be smart? Or do I be dumb and go with these guys, run with them, and hang on as long as I can, and absolutely, possibly bury myself the last 10K. So yeah, I ended up letting it. I was smart. I let him go, and backed off a little, and that was probably one of the few races where I didn't feel like I was dying the last 10K.
Mm-hmm.
But there was definitely glimpses in the race where I would look down at my watch, and I had it set up to run sub 250, and it would tell me my buffer. So like I would have like a 3.5 minute buffer from 250. So I'm like, oh, I'm doing great. And then you start seeing that slowly go down, and you're like, oh no. Because there's times I looked at my watch and I would see like a 6:40 or 6:45 pace, and I'd be like, oh no, like, is this it? Like, is this the wall? But they had rolling hills, like not, I wouldn't consider it hills, but they had some rollers, I guess, which really helped when I was in that moment where I'm hitting the 640. It would help because then all of a sudden you go down the hill, you obviously pick up some speed, but then I would maintain that, and then I'd kick myself back down to like the 620, 630 range. So that's the thing. And that's my racing, by the way. That was a very long-winded 2.5 years of racing, or whatever that is. But
It's been quite the 2025.
Yeah, 25 has been great, and kind of like which is something crazy is like, I don't want to give Mark all the props, but ever since he started coaching me, I have PR'd every single race that I've been in with him, which is a great feeling. And that's the thing too, like finding a coach that works for you is I think a huge, if you're a person looking for a coach. Because obviously you can go to said coach who has this amazing like resume and stuff, but like if it's not for you, like if you're a more work-life balance or family-oriented balance or whatever it is, and this coach is more serious, like we have practices here and there, you got to do this, got to do that, and not really understanding, then it's probably not going to work very well for you as a runner. And this is something I haven't experienced, but this is just something that like I have gathered out of Mark, because he is so like, he's chill, but he's also like he gets it done. And he's understanding. That's the biggest thing. And I think him and I having that relationship prior to him coaching me helped tremendously, because I mean we literally will text in a group or text individually like every single day, just talking about the most randomest things. So having that relationship is always a huge plus, and that's something that helped me. And I could tell him literally anything and everything, and he'll respond within a matter of time or within that day, and help reel me back in when I have those doubtful moments. That's for sure.
Yeah, I love my conversation with him, and I think the listeners did too. It's been a very popular episode. I think that a lot of people find it super inspiring to see that at 43, he's able to do that. And I also think that, like, for the listeners now, being inspired by your story, obviously they can head over to that episode for more of the training specifics, because I guess he gave away a lot of the philosophy for your training as well. In that episode,
he released it all.
Yeah, which is great. So so head over to that episode with Mark to learn more about that. And thank you for sharing. I think it was very interesting. I don't think I was aware of the fact that you hadn't done a sub 3 marathon until this year, and now
Yeah.
you're 2:48. So that's very cool.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you. That was something that's something that I don't really think about unless like I'm talking to somebody or somebody asks me about it. Because like literally when you just said that, I'm like, man, yeah, that's actually accurate. Like I hadn't done that before. Um, and it's crazy to just see kind of like that's the thing I think we as in runners kind of get sucked into at times where like if something goes bad or something goes wrong, like of course you get really down on yourself about it. But then I think what really helps, and it's easier said than done because I'm guilty of this too, is to think where you started is and think
Yeah.
about like your whys. That's the biggest thing. Think about your whys. And I take this from me being my personal training background is like if you are in those down moments of your life, if this could be life in general or running, like if you really dial into your why and not just like oh, I run because I want to be healthy, like that's great. I'm not discrediting that, but like as me as a human being, I would want to dive into that more and like why do you want to be healthy? Like is there family medical history, like or anything like that? Like do you have kids or like do you want to be able to sit on the ground and play with them? Like all this stuff. So dialing into like a really deep why, without getting like too like emotional with somebody on it, I think is very important for when you have those dark moments. Because I think
What's your why?
my why is my first original why is a really good question. I would say my first real why actually is my dad, which is a little cliche, but I don't think I would not be running. I don't think if it weren't for my dad, because even in middle school, it was sixth grade, and that's like the first year where you can be like on like a school team, like sport. And my dad actually coached at a different middle school than I went to, and he was a cross country coach. So like we grew up around running, like my family. So it was just a thing, but he never like forced us to do anything um, other than our homework. But in terms of like sports and stuff, it was all like do what you want to do, which I'm grateful for. And that's something me now as a dad, that's what I've done with my boys. But it was just one of those things where I'm just like, you know what, I want to try out, like I want to be on the cross country team. And so I would have never done that if my dad didn't have like the like if he wasn't coaching or if he didn't run it himself. And then more so now than even when I was in school is just because he's had some like heart health issues and like has gotten scans and stuff done. He's better now, which is good. But like having that it as like a scare and stuff, and seeing him where he is today, qualifying for Boston at 66 years old is like out of this world. So that's like that's my part A, and like my part B is for my family, my boys. It's really cool to like see them. They don't, I mean, they're 6 and 4, so they don't fully grasp everything. Like I could go run Boston and they could be like, good luck, dad. Like, I hope you win. Like, okay. Yeah, I do too, boys. Like,
Good luck.
I don't even think I could drive my car and win, but still. So
Yeah.
seeing them, especially my youngest, like we'll watch Cole Hawker a lot, and like watching him race and like seeing my boys actually know Cole on screen and like getting really excited to see like when Cole ran the 5K, won the 5K at Worlds, and like them actually jumping on the couch and like getting excited. So just having that is just like a surreal moment. So a lot of it, I guess I would just group up is family. It's more my why is for my family, and I mean health is a cherry on top. That's a benefit. But yeah, like I said, it's more than just health to me. So
Yeah, no, I love that. It's
well,
a good answer.
I'm gonna hit you back with it.
Yeah, great. Well, I mean, I feel like I've made, the mini documentary that I made after my Boston this year kind of, I guess, like taught me what my why was too. It's not just for people watching it. And um I think that it's very deep inside of me from a very young age. I had dreams of, like my Olympic dream, becoming a world champion. Um, and I think that early on, I didn't even think about what that would like, what sport that would be in. It wasn't about a specific sport. When I at 5 years old said that I wanted to, my dad being a two-time Olympian, it was kind of like uh, I don't know. Again, like what you said, I never felt any pressure from my dad, and I don't think that I even felt the pressure of having to be a good athlete because he was. But I guess I felt like it was just a natural path for me to take.
Right.
So that was the sport part of it, and then or the athletic part. And then I think that elementary school was really tough. I didn't really fit into the school system. Too much energy, talking too much. Finally, I have a podcast. I get to talk. So, it's they should see me now.
Right. Look at me
but
now.
I look at me now, teacher. No, but I think that there were days where I felt like I wasn't treated like in the best way. Things weren't fair. I'm sure that there were days that I deserved whatever they told me or did to me. But I think that throughout those 7 years in elementary school, something built up like inside of me in terms of wanting to prove something. I wanted to show the world that I was great, or show the world that I could do something that I believe that I could do. And I think maybe the last part that I said is more true than the first one. The great part, I'm not so sure. Like it's more like, if I believe that I can do something, I want to prove to the world that what I think is true is actually true.
Right.
And so I think that is definitely my why, like the biggest part of my why. And then there are other parts of it where it's, yeah. So like when I say that, it's that of running fast. So if I tell people that I want to do a 2:25 marathon, obviously the first thing they will tell me is like, do you have any idea how fast that is? And it's like, yeah, I do know how fast that is, but that's also why I want to do it. So so that part of just seeing how good I can be, that is part of my why. And then the other one is that I can tell that it just makes me a better person, makes me more happy. And I think that combination makes me happy, because whether it's running or something else, like having a goal is very important to me. And running has kind of contributed to that being, again, an essential part of my life. And hopefully that will stay the same for a very long time.
Yeah. No, most definitely. And that's huge, because I think on top of that is like, when we find out our why too, is like, how do I want to word this? When you find out what your why truly is, I think it really sparks something in you, because there's moments where like you can get in that dark space, or that really down space, whether you're injured or you're sick, or like you're just not able to go run. You're not yourself. Right.
Yeah.
And then of course you surround yourself by all these people, like your friends and stuff, who are more than likely also runners. So
Yeah.
you're nonstop you're nonstop around it. But when you dive into that and have friends that can help pull you out of there, having the support is massive. I think, and
Yeah.
it, for me, I mean, I would think for others as well, but yeah, that's massive though.
Yeah, and I've also realized that after I started this podcast, that I feel even more a part of that community. There's like the worldwide community, right? And so I guess that kind of brings us into something that I haven't talked about on the pod yet, like the Marathon Podcast sponsorship, like that I started actually sponsoring athletes. Um, I so uh, I haven't communicated this here before, so I have to try to be good at explaining what it is. But a big part of this is that I want to give back, right? Because running gives me a lot, and I want to give back.
That's
I also
massive.
want to be transparent on that. This is also marketing. It's an investment in the podcast. But the reason why I'm not asking anything back from the athletes is that I'm supporting them. Whatever they're getting is maybe enough to cover a month's rent or a training camp, things like that. And I feel like it's what they're getting is a lot of money for an individual to just get, but it's not enough to get them through the year, or you don't become a full-time athlete based on that alone. But I think that for me, this community, kind of back to what you were saying about when you get injured, when you get sick. Now I've had close to 5 weeks of not being able to run consistently or doing. I think that if this happened without me having the podcast, I would have felt much more, in lack of a better word, depressed. Not like clinically depressed, but much more down, and it would be less meaning to my life, if we can be as dramatic as that. But having this podcast, I've been able to still talk to runners. I've been able to, watch the Chicago Marathon and be excited about that. And I haven't really felt as much of a FOMO for not being able to run as I thought I would. And I think that is a lot because of this community, because of people, talking to them here, or just chatting with people who are giving me feedback or saying that the podcast is good. And so I don't think or feel like I'm exaggerating when I'm saying that community has become so important, not just the sport or activity itself, but also the community.
Oh yeah. It's the running community is it's one of those, kind of like you said earlier on, like it's hard to really like explain experiencing Boston until you're there, like, to somebody. And that's how I feel like with the running community. Like if you're to just talk to just some random person about the running community, you could hype it up a lot. And I mean, it may get them excited, but it's not, it's one of those that you don't really know until you're actually in the moment, especially like for example, like races. Like if you find a race that has like a really good community around it, and like fans and people actually come out and like see it, obviously you're going to get at majors, but more so like of your not small town, but something that's smaller than a major. It's wild. Like that's how CNO Monumental is. Like I ran that for the first time last year, and like the race there is like, the race itself is great because it's a fall race. So you usually have good weather here. Good as in like start at like 40s and like maybe hit 50 if we have a warmer day. But but the crowd is insane, and I haven't experienced that before. So that's something that really drew me in a lot, is like seeing people out there that are just wild. I don't know how to explain it. It's just so bizarre.
No, but it's something, at least for me, it gives me almost faith in humanity, because you see all the good in people. And I was thinking about that in Boston, that we were so many people there, and all of us, we were there to run. We were there to have a good time. All of us, we were excited about it. Spectators were excited about it. The volunteers, everyone, they were just there to have a good time and to cheer each other on, or people on, and that's what it's all about. And so there's something about it, like you said, it's hard to describe or explain, but it's still beautiful.
Yeah, I would imagine running like Boston specifically, it would be like everybody in, sorry, I'll say in America, just because that's what I'm familiar with, but everybody in
Yeah.
America watching like the Super Bowl, like
Yeah.
that's probably Boston I mean, Boston is like the Super Bowl for runners. But
Hmm.
then like actually experiencing it in like the people there, like I haven't even done it, and I feel like I don't know, it's just wild. So yeah,
It is amazing. I think that it's a lot of people, I think now, because of the buffer, or like because of the cutoff time, they are criticizing the system and they want changes and all of that. But
right,
it's also something about, I totally understand that people want to experience it, and people do. I also wish that more people could experience it.
right,
But that is also like what Dave the
yep,
Gilray, on like in one of the last episodes, he was talking about how it's not possible to have more
right,
runners in Boston because of where it is and how the course is. So I still feel like when you read the stories about people trying and trying and trying and finally getting it, it's gonna taste so much better.
yep,
And I do understand people saying, "Yeah, but I'm not cut out to do it." But the at the end of the day, you could also ask the question, "But like, who's to say that you're not able to? Like, if you're dedicated and uh, there's no doubt about the fact that there are some people who are just like naturally better at running and they
yeah,
don't have to work as hard to get there. But that doesn't mean that it's impossible for everyone or like for
right,
anyone to do it. And that is also part of what I think makes Boston so special, that everyone has their story or their journey getting to Hopkinton on
yeah,
that day. And it doesn't matter if that journey has been, like 5 months or if it's been 20 years of trying to qualify. I
right.
think it can still be just as special for everyone.
Most definitely. And like I think that's too with running is like it you're in control of yourself, and like you said, what's to say that you can't get in? But of course
Hmm.
you're gonna have those naturally gifted individuals who like will run their first marathon and run a 2:30 or 2:40, and you're just like,
Yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
I've been trying I'm still trying to this day to hit that
Yep.
type of stuff. So of course you have those people, but those people are, I mean, yeah, they have that gift, but they're still working hard. But that's the thing that's cool about, I think, running too, is like you get out what you put into it, and you're in
Hmm.
charge of you and yourself and your training. So if that's a goal of yours, even if it's something that's like way out of this world, like if you really wanted to do it, I truly believe you could do it. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, of course you're getting,
And I don't want to be, I do see that, especially now for our age group, that when you have to almost do a sub 250 marathon to qualify, I'm not gonna ignore the fact that that might not actually be
yeah,
for
right.
everyone, like regardless of how much they work. So I want to acknowledge that part of it. Yes, it's getting harder,
Yeah.
and so I guess like what I mean to say is that for as you get older and those age gap or the BQ times for people as they get older, it's gonna be easier, right? Because as you age, you are also able to actually improve as a runner. So
Yeah.
you will get faster, but the qualifying time will be slower.
Right.
And it might be that it's unfair to say that, oh, you just have to wait until you're 40 or until you're 50. I get that, and I don't want people to think that I'm not seeing that, but I just think that it won't really. I think it will change Boston more than it will um, change people's lives if they ended up saying that, oh yeah, if you qualified last year, then you're not running this year, because then
Right.
Boston would be less special and
Yeah.
less prestigious.
100. I think that's why Boston is the way Boston too is. Like it it's of course incredibly hard to get into. A lot of them are incredibly hard to get into, and like you said, they're getting harder to get into. But like it wouldn't be as magical if you are a 10-time Boston qualifier, like veteran, and they're like, hey, you've had your fair share. Like, let's give it to some other people. Like, they worked just as hard as the other people. But I mean,
Exactly.
it's so hard. It's just like a huge. It's basically like you're on a seesaw. Like, yeah, you got in and you're like a 10-year veteran. That's great. But then you have someone on the other side who's brand new and like still struggling to get in, and like it's not, there's no win-win. So
No, it's not. And so then I think it's a better solution what Dave said of maybe having a 2-day. Like he was saying that we could have 2 days. And so you have 1 day for the ones who qualified like that, and then you have 1 day with other people.
yeah,
And they would probably still have to have a qualifier for all of them, but maybe everyone who qualified with the cutoff within the cutoff time, like we did now, they were running on the Monday, and then on Sunday you would have for everyone who actually made the qualifying standards,
like the actual standard.
and then you obviously and then like he said, you obviously have the logistics of it all. They close off like big areas, because this is like 26 miles out from Boston. There are a lot of people affected by it, good or bad, but it's not just like, you can't just say, oh, we're just doing 1 more day.
Right.
It's gonna be, some people are gonna be upset about that.
Oh, 100%. You're not going to be able to, that's the thing. You're not going to be able to make everybody happy. And that was something very kind of relatable when Carmel got canceled. Like, people had traveled to here in Carmel, Indiana to race this race. And even the locals, like I would look on like the Instagram page or whatever of them announcing the cancellation, and the comments were just like, can you just have it tomorrow, or can you just do it this next weekend? And yeah, we all think that, like, of course, like tomorrow would have been great. Next weekend would be great. But something I don't think a lot of people truly understand is like you said, there's so much logistics behind the scenes of like, they have to get police and permits and shut down roads, and everyone's affected by it, and all this stuff. So yeah.
At least they didn't go all the way to Cape Town in South Africa for the race to be canceled. Did you see
my
that?
gosh, I did see that. Yeah, that would be, there was that weekend was really bizarre on just races in general. Like, so you had, that was canceled. And then here in like the Midwest, we had crazy like storms that weekend. And so there was a big race in Detroit, Michigan, which was like the Free Press Marathon. That one had like insane storms. Like, I saw some videos of people running it, and like they're going over the bridge. It's like pitch black outside, and like things are like, you're blowing sideways basically across the bridge. And
wow.
Same thing with, I think Columbus Marathon was the same weekend, and stuff wasn't great there. I think it got delayed to start, and then I saw something about, I think Toronto had a marathon, in Canada. They had a marathon, and some of the top women had actually turned the wrong way, and they were going into the finish on the opposite side. It was,
That's hilarious.
I don't know if it was a full moon last weekend or what, but the amount of things that happened in the running, like the races that weekend, that's wild. But yeah.
Yeah, that is wild. And we're getting closer to probably what we would call the end of the episode. We've been talking for 1 hour and 25 minutes already. I just wanted to, like, before we end the conversation, we've obviously been chatting a lot before, and I've never done this part before on this episode, or like on the pod, but I was wondering if you have any questions for me, if you, like, you know, from listening or from this conversation or anything like that, because after every episode I'm like, do people know who I am?
Right.
or am like all of those things. So I'm
Yeah,
curious if you have any.
most definitely. And that's the thing. Like I am gonna ask, so I'll give you time to think about it. But I am gonna ask basically like who you are slash where you started and like where you are now type of thing. But like, yeah, you may have had that on like your first episode or whatever. Like most people would do like an introduction, like, hey, this is me, this is
Hmm.
blah blah blah. But when you get so far into your journey too, like how often are people truly going to go back to that episode and find out who you are?
Exactly.
Like so yeah, so I guess for people listening, and even for my sake, even though we've talked a bunch already on this podcast and outside it, is what got you into running? Like I know you were a speed skater, athlete, all this stuff, but like what got you into running? And I guess more so like you kind of answered the why. Like I know your why now, but like
Hmm.
why running? I guess.
Yeah, it's a very good question, and I've been thinking a lot about it because it's just a random coincidence. Like my brother-in-law, he was running a marathon in October of 2023, and for the longest time I kept saying that he asked me to join him, and then I went back and looked at the text, and it was just him saying, hey, I'm running or he didn't say hey, we were just talking about something, and he said, yeah, I'm running a marathon in October. And then I was the one initiating it and said, hey, I'm gonna run it with you. So I told him that I was going to, and that was 4 months prior to that marathon. And at that time, like you said, I had been a speed skater, but then I had a couple of years off, and I've gained some weight, not like a lot, but more than what my body was used to having, and more than I was really comfortable with. And I also was not in great shape. And just like you, I'd always said that I'm never gonna run a marathon. Like I don't understand why people do that. That's not good for your knees. Nothing about it's tempting to me. And so 4 months before that marathon, I told him that I was going to do it. I'm not even sure when I said it if I believed that I would do it, But then I was like, okay, I'm heading into this. Started training, and in addition to doing the marathon, he told me that okay, we're gonna try to qualify for Boston, and that means we're gonna have to run 2:55 or faster, because that was just based on the year before. And then I started training. Did then realize that okay, this is maybe a bit too ambitious, because when I started training, I realized that okay, the pace that I'm gonna have to do for a full marathon is what I'm struggling to do for like a kilometer right now. So I was not super optimistic after that first workout, but then I think that, kind of back to what I said, that about proving myself, I was just like, okay, but a lot will happen between July and October, so that's gonna be good. And so that was kind of just how I did 2:52 in my first marathon, and I was hooked. Like that was where yeah, that was how I got into it, and I was hooked. It's kind of simple as that. Realized that I guess I had a potential for it, since I was able to do that in 4 months, and yeah,
That's
that's all it took.
that's wild. For people that are listening, I'm sure they're just like, oh, well, he ran a 2:52 right up the get, kind of out not
Yeah,
out on a
but
whim, but you put in the work, and like you said, you obviously have something for it. So
yeah, I think that one thing that I should give more credit, and I've been trying to do that the last like year, because immediately after I thought it was kind of cool myself to be like, oh, 2:52, 4 months of training, it's a cool story. And then I do agree that yes, that is pretty good. And regardless of where you've been, doing a 2:52 marathon for your first marathon with 4 months of training, you could say that's impressive. But I also want to emphasize that I came from a life of being a full-time athlete, right? I had up to 35 hours of training a week. I had a high VO2 max. My endurance was very good. And probably even when I started training, I had a much better foundation than a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then you have the muscle memory. Like the body just remembers where it was. And then as soon as you start training, and for me, even just low intensity training would just make big jumps every time I started moving, kind of. So I would contribute a lot of it to those almost 20 years of a lot of training, not just those last 4 months.
Right. Yeah. That all makes sense. It's not like you came from like a couch to 5K type of background.
No, it was not. I could obviously say that because of what my life was like the month before, or the last 2 years before that, but that would still not really, it wouldn't be the honest thing to say based on what my life looked like up until 2021. So
okay. I guess so I guess a fun one. Do you have any like pre-race like rituals, or do you have like is there anything specific that you do or have to do pre-race?
Yeah, so one of the things that I'm always the most worried about, and I think that a lot of runners will kind of relate to that, is obviously the stomach issues, bathroom situation, all of that. So I try to, I don't have any like rituals in terms of like I have to do specific things, put on these socks or whatever, but I do get up exactly 4 hours before the race. I think I get up, and then I usually have some food, and then I go out for like just a 5-minute run in the morning.
Flush it.
And then just to get back. And I'm not trying to start the system with coffee. I don't drink coffee on the morning of a race.
I was gonna ask
I
that.
drink coffee every day. That's too risky for me. So that is kind of the only thing. I get up and I do that. What's been nice is that obviously, since the races usually are in the morning, the rest of the family or people who are with me, they are not up yet. So I'm just sitting there with my AirPods and listening to music, podcasts, whatever. I'm super weird though. Like, people are asking me what I'm listening to on my harder workouts, or even like I've done 2 out of the 3 marathons that I've done, or 3 out of 4, I guess, I've done with my AirPods in, and I'm listening to podcasts.
Are you? Okay.
So when I'm going hard, I'm listening to podcasts.
That's interesting.
It's it just makes my mind.
You just tune out.
But yes, I tune out rather than listening to my body.
I'd understand that, because I mean, especially like in a marathon or two, I've heard people who do. That was another question I was going to ask, if you ran with music or not, but
not in Boston though. Not in Boston. I have to say that if there are a lot of people watching, I almost think it's a bit disrespectful to not,
I see that.
I don't know. It's not. I wouldn't say that it is, because you're there for yourself. But in Boston, I was like, I'm gonna take it, and I'm not.
But like you said,
listen to anything.
It's experiencing Boston to the fullest in a way. So I get that. But I've heard people talk about, if they listen to music, a lot of times, especially in a marathon, they won't listen to like hype music right off, especially at the beginning, because obviously you don't want your heart rate to be 160 plus within the first 3 miles, and all of a sudden you're just feeling real good and cranking things out. So that actually probably helps a lot in terms of the podcasts being more mellow, like, and like you said, just be able to kind of just tune out everything.
And I also think it has to do with, at least for me, the intensity of a marathon, because it's not so hard that you can't focus on whatever is on your ears.
Yep.
And then it's better for me to have a podcast. If I was doing like a 2-minute long competition and I wanted to have something to listen to, I would rather listen to my favorite song or like
Right.
an upbeat song.
Of course.
But I also know that after almost 3 hours of listening to music, I would probably be tired of that same playlist. So
Yeah, unless you're really creative and have a bunch of different songs. But yeah, I get that.
yeah, a 3-hour long playlist. Yeah.
Is there, so you kind of talked a little bit like nutrition, or just like you don't really have a whole lot of like things you have to do beforehand, but is there like specific things? So you wake up 4 hours before, drink, or you don't drink your coffee, but is there specific something that you eat? Because I remember you posted your YouTube video of
Yeah.
your hometown race. Was it your hometown race?
Yeah.
Is
it
that-
was. Yeah.
Was it, is it not, it's not just bread, but what is it that you eat every, like usually?
Yeah. So I'm not really like, I try to not think about it as like I have to have this specific kind of bread, but it's usually just white bread, something
Okay.
white blend, and then some honey on it.
That's
like butter and honey. That's what I'm going with, and that's what I've been doing for all of them. Just because I know I was when I mean, this is the benefit of having this podcast, right? You talk to people and you just hear what they said. So I had Kristian on, like the Norse winner of Norseman, the Iron Man, where you finish up on a mountain.
Oh yeah.
A Norwegian friend of mine, and he was talking about how he, like the things that he was eating, and then combined with actually what CJ, the Australian guy that I met before Boston, he said that he stopped eating anything else than gels at like 3 or 4 p.m. I think the day before the race. Then he would just have gels the rest of the day, because then he didn't have too much in his stomach before. Like, and that was something that really worked for me, because then I still had the energy, but I didn't feel like my stomach was full of literally shit.
Yeah. All right.
So
we're good.
So that was something that really helped. And then I don't want to have too much of a routine on it, just because of traveling. Like when going to Tokyo in March and running, I need to know that I can feel confident with whatever I'm eating,
right?
Regardless, but like as long as it's in the same category of whatever.
It's not like you're eating, you know, a specific brand of bread. It has to be this or that.
No.
Yeah, I get that.
I think a lot of people do that though, but I think that it's a bit. I don't think it's that important, and I think that it's you just set yourself up for failure, because you thought you brought it, and then it got old or expired, whatever. By the day something happens, and then you're in Tokyo and you can't get anything. So that's
the thing too, is like I think it's nice to hear what everybody's like routine is, or like what they prefer to eat or what works for them. Obviously, and not everybody, but a lot of people who are like more competitive type runners, and those who even aren't, just make sure you try things and you know what works for you. Like recently I found out, for me, my go-to, I'll do an earlier dinner the day before a race, not like I won't do like a 7 or 6 or 7 p.m. It'll be like a 5.
Exactly.
But I'll do, and it's not anything crazy, and it's not a lot to where I feel full, but I'll go somewhere and get pancakes and like banana and strawberry, and I'll like, no, I won't do syrup, or I haven't done syrup. I just let the fruit kind of saturate everything. So that's something that's like worked for me. And obviously everyone's completely different, but coming from my background, I've always been into like a huge, it sounds weird, but I have to have spaghetti 2 nights before race. Like that's something that I've done literally like my entire life, is always spaghetti 2 nights before race, heavy carb day, and then now recently it was always I always struggle to find out what to do the day before a race. Because you don't
Hmm.
want to do too much, you don't want to do too little. It's like, what should I do? What shouldn't I do? And that's where I think I
I
really
think
found out. Yeah,
I think that's impossible, or not impossible. I think it's really hard to, even though you've succeeded with something. First of all, you don't know if the same thing is gonna work the next time.
exactly right.
And second of all, I think that it's always gonna be hard to replicate it because there
Yep,
will be other things. Yeah, but
of
the
course.
one thing when you know like when you asked about that, the one thing that and it could be that you're one of them, and then that's but I kind of disagree with people at our level who are so detail oriented on the carb fueling the days before that you just like obsess about it. So for me, I'm trying to take a more laid back, chill approach to all of that. Not because I'm sure it works, but it's just like if you start obsessing over it, then that could just stress you out more. And then I feel like it's different from for the pros, but for anyone running like a 225 or 220 and slower, then I think that if you follow your gut, literally, like
That
whatever you feel like eating, and try to not eat things you know that your stomach doesn't like,
right.
then you'll be fine, I think.
Yep.
And yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I'm not at extreme, but I do have like my go-tos, but I'm not over here like,
yeah.
oh, I have to have 4 bagels and 5 fruit snacks and like, oh, like I'm not that crazy, but I will have like my go-to snacks.
But I'm
It's
not sure if I feel like that is crazy. It's more when you start counting it,
oh
the calories and the
yeah, yeah,
carbs and all of that. And I'm sure a lot of people enjoy it. That they think it's fun, and I understand that. But it's more to me that would have just stressed me out more than it would have helped me, I think.
right. And then
And be
because then
like,
could be under, you could be if you did it and all of a sudden you're like, you, the race didn't go well, then all of a sudden you're backtracking to, well, is it something I
yeah,
ate or should I not have done that? So that I get that. I've done it before.
mhm,
Um,
yeah,
but I'm also one where like I'm not strict about what I eat or anything. I don't have that issue, which is a good and necessarily also a bad thing. But like I've never had issues with carb loading. Like I feel like some people are like, "Oh
no,
my gosh," and sorry if you are,
yeah.
but I don't have like I think I carb load almost every day.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that it's easy to just get too obsessed with it because you read about it, you hear about it, you
Yeah.
see people talking about it. And I also think that it's important for me to say that, like, I'm a photographer, I'm a creative person. There's no structure. I'm not a structured person in that way. Like, like I'm not using Excel sheets for things. When I have these podcasts, I will make some notes, but most of it I have in my head.
Hmm.
And I know that a lot of people are different like that, right?
Oh yeah.
Like people are having notes, they have things like that, and I feel like that might be the same with carb loading, that it actually gives them a sense of control and relief that, okay,
Right.
I got this
Yeah.
just by doing that. And if that's the case, then I totally understand it. But it's kind of more when you get obsessed with it because you see other people and then you think you have to do it. Then
Yes.
I think it's really important to just find your way
Yeah.
of doing things,
That's
and
perfectly said.
trust that.
Yep.
Yeah,
I perfectly said. Do I have time for one more?
yeah,
I got
definitely.
one fun one because what it seems
Yeah,
like is you travel from what it seems like quite often. So if there is
yeah.
anywhere in the entire world that you haven't already raced at, where would you like to race?
So I hope that will come true next year with Sydney.
Yep.
I would love to do Sydney. I'm not necessarily like obsessed with the majors.
Mhm.
That is cool. I feel like now me loving the sport and having this pod, it would be fun to do all majors, but it would be, I think, just Sydney because I liked Australia when we were there last year, and I think it will also be kind of cool to go there in the early stages of them being a major. So
Right.
that is a big part of that. And it's almost hard to answer that question when I know that I'm going to Tokyo, right? Because it could be that Tokyo would have been my answer. Because now I'm saying this a week before they're letting me know if I'm in
In
for
or not.
Sydney or not. So maybe if I knew that I had both of them, I would have said Cape Town because I love Cape Town too. And I don't know. It's but it's a good question, and I also think that maybe like if I was to think of it as not a major and think just more like when wherever in the world, I think I would be too boring to say the Netherlands. I speak Dutch, so I have a connection to the Netherlands, but I don't know if
That's
that is
all right.
enough for me to. I don't know if that is enough for me to be interesting. New Zealand, actually. New Zealand would be
Okay.
cool. Yeah.
So somewhat still down there
think,
by Australia
yeah.
with your
Different
Australian
climate, though.
accent.
Oh yeah, very very Australian accent.
So I had the same thought when I was asking. I had the same thought because initially, if someone were asked me that, I think the first thing off the top of my that's not a major. The first place off the top of my head would be like, oh, I want to run. I want to run in Oregon. Like I would want to do the marathon in
Yeah.
Oregon. And I'm
Yeah.
like immediately, I'm like, well, that's in the United States. That's not like. I mean, yeah, that's great and cool, but the entire I haven't even seen the other side of the world, so it's like I don't even know what races are out there, but I'm sure there's amazing stuff that would be out of this world to do. So yeah, that would.
Yeah, it's too bad that we don't really, we're mostly exposed to the big ones, but I'm sure the most beautiful ones are actually the smaller ones
Right.
that the first one I did was in Narragansett, Rhode Island, and it was beautiful. It was just, I was running by myself for the whole race, but it was still beautiful. It was,
Yep. I've raced there before.
yeah, it was nice. Yeah. Oh, you raced there too?
Yeah, not that specific race. I raced. We had back in grade school, junior. We had nationals, junior Olympics for cross country in Rhode Island, in Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh, cool.
So it is
Nice.
really cool out there. I will agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I like that area.
Yeah.
Okay, Brandon. Thanks for the questions and thanks for coming on. We might be setting a new record here on the Marathon Podcast with the longest episode. So hopefully people are preparing for a marathon and have a very long run and then need one long episode here.
Quite literally, this is a good one if you're going for a long run. If you're just get your snacks. If you're not, so.
And that's the intro for the episode. Now we're jumping to Great. Okay, thank you so much for guesting the Marathon Podcast. One last question for you before we end it, and that is what you did mention, like your next big goal and race, and you said something about a 1:15, but we didn't really talk about it. So what is that?
Yeah. So my next race is in, I think, 2.5 weeks from now at CNL Monumental Half Marathon. And my goal is anywhere in the 1:15 range, which would be a lofty, very ambitious goal because that would put me at like a 3-minute PR. But I mean, like you said in the past, you got to be ambitious and got to go for it. So we'll see what happens in 2.5
Love
weeks.
that. Can't wait to see how it goes, and then we'll obviously stay in touch and see you in Boston.
All right, sounds good, man.
That was a long and fun conversation with Brendan. I think that this is something that we're gonna try to keep doing on a regular basis. I was talking to Brendan about this after that. Maybe we can do that as, if not a monthly thing, but just a regular thing where we're giving you guys kind of an update. You guys can get to know Brendan better, and You guys can get to know me better in my journey. And in that way, we can build more on our relationship too. But obviously, this podcast is mainly going to be about the guests, and we're going to keep on having chats with them. And I am super, super excited about the Marathon podcast and the future of it. Lastly, I just want to mention that nothing that I'm doing here on the Marathon podcast would have been possible without my filmmaking and photography business, Wild Studio. Wild Studio is financing everything that I'm doing here, the gear and also the sponsorship and the marketing that we're doing with this Marathon podcast sponsorship. So just wanted to emphasize that. I don't know if I should say thank you to Wild Studio since that's just me. So I guess it's thank you to me, but I just wanted to put that out there. And I guess thank you to all my clients who are trusting me to do the work so that I can do this and have fun with it. Thank you for listening to the Marathon podcast. Again, if you haven't given it a review, please do so. Share it with a friend, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Again, you listen to the Marathon podcast, brought to you by Wall Studio.